Hey, Mountainview family. Hey, I have two important announcements that I want to give to you and some updates that I want to share with you. And this might be a little bit long of a video. So I want you to be patient and maybe we'll put a timestamp. I don't know. I won't make any promises on that. But I don't want you to rush through this. I want you to get all of it because I want to share with you not just the what that's coming up, but a lot of the all-important why. As we ask you to come along with us, I want you to understand why we're making these changes and what's coming up. And so first, I want to share with you that there's some upcoming construction that's happening on Highlands Ranch Parkway. So Tracy and I were we were able to meet with Douglas County. They asked us to meet with them last week. And they shared with us that they're going to be tearing up Highlands Ranch Parkway. And that's the street that's right in front of our entrance. And so they're going to be doing that from Broadway all the way to Burntwood. And so that's the first time you can take a left if you're going east on Highlands Ranch Parkway. So it's a little bit under 2 miles of road. And they're going to be tearing up all of the concrete and replacing all of the concrete with new and putting in a median. But here's what this means, is that they're going to be taking the six-lane parkway that we have, and 3 lanes going westbound, 3 lanes going eastbound, and they're going to be making that to 2 lanes. And they're going to be doing this from June 8th to October 1st. So for 4 months, they're going to be tearing up and replacing most of the road between our church. They're going to be doing this through phases, and it's going to impact us the entire 4 months. And so we're going to share a lot more details because it's going to impact even how we enter into our church at some points. And so we're going to send out details and maps and arrows and when is it going to impede us entering into our parking lots and how and where and when. I don't want to get into the details of that right now, but what I want you to know is this is coming this summer, and it's going to impact our church. And part of what I believe is going to impact our church is not just impact the ministries of our church. It's going to impact the flow of ministries of our church. It's going to impact the number of new families that are coming in because we're not going to have the same amount of traffic coming past our church. But I also believe it's going to impact our attendance over the summer. Because it's going to change how you come to church. It's going to change the time frame by which it takes you to get here. Maybe it takes you 5 minutes. Maybe it takes you 10 minutes. And this summer, it might take you 10 to 20 minutes. And so we believe this is going to have an impact. So why is this important? We also see the need to change our service times. And so we met as a leadership team. When I talk about the leadership team, I'm talking about the elders, staff members, ministry leaders, and we wanted to discuss how the construction this summer, from that June 8th time frame of them starting all the way to October 1st, how is this going to impact the ministries of Mountainview? But we also wanted to impact and discuss about the service times and what's working, what's not working, and really brainstorm what could be done in our church and be the best stewards with what God has entrusted to us. So I wanted to share with you what I shared with them about some of the statistics, some of the numbers that we currently have. And some of this you guys might not really care about. You might be wondering why I'm sharing with this. But all of this goes into the decision-making that we came to of why we want to move from 2 services to 1. So the first thing that I presented is this, is that in our gathering room, we currently have 255 chairs set up. Now, our average attendance in 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, we fluctuate between 80 people to 120 per service. We average about 220 to 250 people in person in the gathering room that attend in here, not like in children's ministry or student ministry, but in here on a Sunday morning, we average between 80 to 120 per service. So what that means is that we operate at about 31 to 48% of capacity. Now, sometimes it goes a little bit above that, but not much. Sometimes it goes a little bit below that. This last Sunday, I believe we had 74 people at our 11 a.m. service because it was Memorial Day. And you feel that. You share that. That affects you. In fact, many people have come in through those low moments, and you're like, where is everybody? It feels really empty. You've shared that with your ministry leaders. Some of you have shared that with me. So why is this important? Why are we talking about this? One, I want you to know that like church leaders, pastors, lead pastors, and consultants have shared this 80% rule. And no, this is not the 80-20 rule of like 20% of the people do 80% of the work. It's talking about capacity. And so typically when a church service, when like what we call our gathering room would hit about 80% capacity, you have to go, okay, we have to adjust somewhere at a service, because when it hits 80%, people start coming in and going, oh, there's not space for me. There's not a place for me here. There's not room for me. And so you start hitting a growth barrier. And so you have to look to expand in some way. Now, on the opposite end of that, church consultants and leaders say that if you hit that 60% or lower of capacity, you want to look at consolidating your services. And maybe that's getting rid of some chairs. Maybe that is moving from 2 services to 1. And as I shared with you, we are well below that. We're around 31 to 48% capacity. And so really what this means is that we are missing a critical mass in our services. And that's why people are coming in and going, where is everybody? But you also feel that when it's like in Christmas or Easter services and the place is full and there's full of energy and you're like, oh, this feels great. Like, why can't it be like this every Sunday? And it could. And I believe it will. But I want to share with you what critical mass is and what it means. And so you guys know I love definitions, so we're on the same page. So critical mass, the definition is, it's the minimum amount or size or number needed for a specific process or reaction to become self-sustaining and to grow. So when we don't hit critical mass, it actually hinders the growth of our church. And I believe this is one of the barriers that we're hitting, is that people are coming in and they're not seeing and experiencing a critical mass. And so it's hindering the growth of our church. So I want to share with you a little bit about capacity for our room. And so here in our gathering room, we have the ability to put 450 seats easily in our room. And so we could add 200 chairs comfortably in our gathering room. If we had everybody come together right now as an average, we average between the 2 services, 220 to 250 a Sunday. That's still a combined capacity of 55% of that 450 chairs. So we're still not at that 60% threshold yet. But what I want us to see is in one service, if everybody combined, if we all moved and worshiped together in one service, we would still be able to grow our church by 50%. We would be able to add 110 people and families and people coming to Jesus before we hit the 80% max, where we have to look at adding space or moving to 2 services. So as a ministry leadership team with the elders and ministry leaders and staff, we got together and we said, let's brainstorm our options. And I said, who of us believe that this is an issue that needs to be addressed? Like this idea of critical mass and having our diminished numbers in the room. And so a lot of people were like, yeah, in fact, that wasn't a lot of people, it was everyone. Everyone raised their hand to say, I believe this is an issue that needs to be resolved, that we need to address. So I was okay, let's brainstorm about how to address this. The option A was we can stay the way we are, which means keep status quo. We would stay 9 and 11. And what we talked about is this would be the least disruptive of our options. We could just keep doing what we're doing. What we also discussed and what people shared was this doesn't address the issue of our critical mass. We also saw that there's less short-term pain in this decision, which we would not have to feel, but there would be a longer-term drain. So while we might feel less short-term pain, we would have a longer-term drain in doing the status quo. Part of it because in doing 2 services, we're asking our amazing mission partners who serve selflessly and give so much to our church, because we depend on you who are serving as our mission partners to be on mission and to make ministry happen here. And a lot of them we ask to serve one and attend one. So like some people serve at 9 a.m. and attend the 11, or some people attend the 9 a.m. and serve at the 11, and so they're willing to give up their mornings in order to make ministry happen here. But we also see that's had a drain, and it's been hard to get more in our limited numbers. The needed critical mass that we need of mission partners to help us make ministry happen here. So we then go, what if we adjusted our times? So we were at 9 and 10:30, and those were too close together, so we went to a 9 and 11, and we're like, what if we adjusted between those two? We went to 9 and 10:45, and while that may tweak some small numbers at the 11 a.m. service, it would be minimal, and what everybody said was adjusting in option B doesn't address the issue of critical mass in our church. So then we looked at option C. Option C was to consolidate and to move to one service. Now, what we did address, and we saw what this would be the most disruptive to our church. And for some, and this is pretty common when churches do this, there is this idea, there's this psychology that a feeling of, are we moving backwards? Are we shrinking as a church? Now, we'll address some of that later, but there's also, we know that there's going to be some short-term pain, but we believe for a longer-term gain. We also unanimously agreed that this would address the issue of critical mass. If we brought everybody together from the 2 services into one, that we would have a greater critical mass, which would bring energy into the room. It would also consolidate the asks of our mission partners, our volunteer teams, and the asks that we have of them. So we wrestled through all of the implications of these options, option A, option B, option C, whether we should stay status quo or we should adjust or we can consolidate. And as we brainstorm the negatives and the positives, and not just, again, how this is going to affect the ministries, but how this is going to affect our church body, how it's going to affect you, we unanimously came to the decision that the best move forward is to consolidate our 9 and 11 services to one service at 10 a.m. And so we believe that this is the best move for Mountainview, for not just the immediate, but for the long-term future as we consolidate and we worship together in one service, moving to 10 a.m. Now, as the full-time staff got together this week, we discussed when. As we all agreed this is the direction we want to go, so when's the right time? And what we came up with was Sunday, June 14th. Now, some of you are like, Sunday, June 14th, that's 2 Sundays away, so that's 2 weeks, and there's a lot that came into that decision of why June 14th, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Because I want to address, as we move into this direction, some of you might say, well, I have a lot of questions, so I want to address some of the questions you might have. One, the question you might have is this solely based on the construction that starts outside on our main road, and our entrance road, on June 8th? And the answer to that is no. Now, I will say that the construction and the communication about all of that they're going to do and the impact that's going to have expedited this conversation. But the construction that's going to happen on Highlands Ranch Parkway is not the cause of us looking to move to one service. Some of you might be asking, why rush this? Why June 14th? And that's a great question. I want to share with you, this isn't a new conversation. This conversation was initiated and was being had before I got here 3 years ago. And it's a conversation that I've been having as your lead pastor behind the scenes with the elder board and with some key staff members and asking, hey, what do you think about this? How do you think this would impact you and your ministry? And for the most part, a number of people were saying that this is something that they see has been needed for a long time. In fact, as I have asked different staff members and different key leaders about this and how this would impact them, they've said that many of you have asked the same question of why do we need two services, or why don't we consolidate together, or what if we did? And so this is not a new conversation. It's been one that's been had for a while. But I would say that the construction has expedited the conversation, because we do believe that the construction will impact our attendance. And so if we're already at that 31 to 48% capacity level, what will the diminished numbers of Sunday mornings do through the summer, and add the construction time to that? Some of you might be asking about, does this mean that we're shrinking? Are we dying as a church, or is this actually going backwards? And I want to answer that and just say unequivocally, no. We're not shrinking. We're not dying. We've actually been growing as a church. We've been connecting new families as a church, and this doesn't mean we're going backward. I would say this is addressing something that could have been addressed many years ago, and we just see that with the construction, the opportune time is now. We also see that this is going to be the best for Mountainview, not just for growth, but also for that critical mass and for like the feeling that we have as we gather together. And it's going to be the best for our ministry partners as we ask them and our mission partners to serve and to give, that we're going to be good stewards with a number of people. And so this does not mean that we're dying or shrinking or going backwards. It just means we're consolidating to be greater stewards with what God has given us. So how will this affect the ministries? Maybe that's another question that you have. How will this affect the ministries of Mountainview? Now, I will say this, that when you go from two services to one, it will affect almost every single ministry in some way, at some capacity, some more than others. But it'll affect how we operate as a church. It'll change how we operate as a church. And it will it will affect Mountainview Kids Ministry and Mountainview Student Ministry more than any others, because of how people serve in those and when they meet and where they meet. And so I've talked to Zach, our Mountainview Kids Director and Discipleship Pastor. I've talked to Kyle, our Mountainview Students Director, and both of them are on board and excited for this and are looking forward to addressing this with their teams and how this is going to impact you who serve in those ministry areas. But what we want to make sure that we do is we want to be the most effective that we can be with the stewardship of what God has entrusted to us here at Mountainview. So, is this temporary? I would say there's nothing that we do that's not temporary. I want to share this because it's just not temporary in the sense of once the construction is over that we're going to move back to two services. Now, could that be? Maybe. But we want to do things because we need to do them, not because it's our preference to do them. It is not my preference to go from two services to one. I see it as a need for us to go to two services to one. It's not the staff and the ministry leaders' preference to go from two services to one, but we see it as a need to do this for the betterment of our church. So when I say it's temporary, it's that if we, and when we get to that point of hitting that 80% capacity, then we would see the need to go back to two services. And when we do that, we'll address that with you guys, and we'll share with the plan. But at that point, we'll have a greater number of ministry partners and people serving, and the capacity to have two services in a more efficient way than we currently do right now. And we would have the critical mass in order to split up the two services, or the one service, into two. So what does this mean? So all of this, what does this mean? So one, I want to address this. I've shared this with you guys before. We want to be married to the mission and not to the methods. So our mission is to reach the world one person at a time as we learn to think, love, and live like Jesus and reproduce that in the lives of others. That's our mission. That will never stop. That will always be the same. We will hold on to the mission of reaching the world one person at a time. We want to see disciples growing in their relationship with Jesus and then reaching those who are far from Jesus and making disciples of Jesus so that we can be disciples that make disciples and make disciples and make disciples. That's never going to change because that's the mission of the church. The methods are things that change. And we can't be married to methods because we want to constantly be looking at how can we be the most effective church. And so service times are not the mission, service times are the methods. And so we want to change the methods in order to be more effective for the mission. And so this is going to help us be more effective for the mission and not be married to the methods. We also want to live out, I've mentioned this a couple times now, we want to live out our core value of stewardship. That stewardship is not just about finances, it's not just about budgets, it's not just about handling with the money that God has entrusted to us that you guys are so sacrificially giving. That's important, that's a part of stewardship. But one of our greatest stewardships is you. It's our people, it's your time, it's your energy, and we want to handle the people that God has entrusted to us well. We want to care for our mission partners. And again, those who serve so tirelessly and sacrificially, you give of their energy and their time and their talents to make ministry happen here. And it's my job to also do that with our staff and elders and to make sure that I'm helping them to be the best stewards that they can be and help lead and guide our church. So each one of your leaders, all of them, as we have driven to this direction, as we have pursued this and made this decision, I want to share with you their heart. That the leaders of this church, your leaders at Mountainview, believe this is not what's going to be the easiest. They're not making this decision because it's the popular decision. They're saying this is what's best for Mountainview. Not just for best for Mountainview now, this is what's best for Mountainview going forward. That we can be the most effective in being disciples and make disciples and reaching those far from Jesus here in Highlands Ranch and in the South Denver Metroplex. Also, what this means is that it's going to cost everyone a little bit. But we believe that cost is going to help with a long-term benefit. So while this will cost everyone a little bit, it will have a long-term benefit. So the nines, some of you at the nines, you niners, might be asking, why don't we just ask the 11s to move to the 9? And some of you 11s are going like, well, why don't we just ask the 9s to move to the 11? So like I don't face a cost, and maybe they can just transition to my service because this is the service I like. And that typically when you change services, you ask everybody to have a little bit of sacrifice, a little bit of change. And here's my ask is that we as a church family would all lay down our preferences and that we would be willing to come together. Rather than asking this person to come to me or this person to come to me, I'm asking for us as a church to come together. That means each one of us is going to give a little bit. Each one of us, this is going to cost a little bit for a greater long-term benefit. For our church, for the kingdom of God, for our mission effectiveness here in Highlands Ranch in South Denver, and for the benefit of the overall feel of the church gathering. Now, I'm going to make myself available to the church this Sunday after both services. We'll be announcing this Sunday, and next Sunday we'll be blitzing this on social media and email. We want to get this out to as many people as possible because we have 2 Sundays before this is happening. But I want to be available to you. We're going to do this in the Discovery Room, and so it's going to be right out the doors across the lobby in the Discovery Room there. That I'll make myself available there, and you can ask questions, share concerns, give encouragements. But I can clarify some things, give some greater detail than this format will allow me to. But my ask is, for us as a church body, will you make this move with us? Will you allow yourself to face the costs that this will have for the greater benefit of our church body? Will you commit to moving with us to one service at 10 a.m.? Because what if 100% of us were willing to move? What if 100% of us on June 14th came to the 10 a.m. service? What if 100% of us were willing to be on mission here in the Highlands Ranch, in the South Denver area, to reach those far from Jesus? What if 100% of us were willing to pay a little bit of personal costs of our personal preferences and the methods that we're used to in order to have greater missional effectiveness? What if 100% of us didn't let the construction and the additional 10 minutes that's going to take us to get to church, the traffic issues, what if we didn't allow that to keep us from gathering together as the church? What if we allowed Jesus to use this little bit of disruption for that greater benefit so that we can be more effective in building his kingdom? That's my ask of you. Would you be praying over this? Would you be praying for the Holy Spirit to be in and through this? We truly believe that God is in this. This is the direction he is guiding our church. But imagine if we all were on board, if we all 100% committed to gathering together, to moving, to sacrificing a little bit for that greater gain. Imagine what we could do as a church. That's my prayer. Would you join with us in that? Would you commit to that? And would you navigate through this in unity as a church as we move forward? I'm praying for you. I look forward to seeing you this Sunday. Thank you for watching all of this, and we will talk to you soon. God bless you, church. We love you.